So yeah, we're here to talk about hip hop wars. Hip hop wars. What is it? I'm sure you're intrigued by, what is even hip hop wars. Why I like talking about hip hop is because hip hop is very, very accessible. It is very, very accessible. You don't have to be talented. You don't have to know how to sing. You don't even have to love it to be able to join in the conversation. The thing is that it's always in your face. Whether you like it or not, is one culture that is sweeping, the globe right now. So whether you like it or not, something might just bring hip hop to your face and you just join the conversation. And you might not like it. It might just be, oh, you're talking in favor of hip hop, or you don't necessarily like the conversation, or you don't like how hip hop is going. But the thing is that, it's accessible to everybody because it's just everywhere, around us, no matter how we try to, avoid it. So before I start, I just wanted us to, listen to this music. I'm sure some of you remember this. If you haven't had it, it's still okay. But as you listen to this music, of course, these are the Migos. There are three of them. They were three: Quavo, Offset, and we just lost Takeoff, right? 2 weeks ago, a few weeks ago, to gun violence. But as you listen to this music, I would like you to think about so many things. Let's just explore the questions. What does hip hop mean to you? To kind of, practicalize what I mean by hip hop is accessible. Especially if you've not taken any class in hip hop, let's just explore this question. What does hip hop mean to you? So as we watch this video, I want you to think about so many things. You don't have to, try to give us a perfect definition of hip hop. You can talk about the sound, the sound that you hear, that in terms of instruments, in terms of vocal. You can talk about the message. You can talk about the visual, the visual representation, what's going on in the video, what you're seeing, the costume. You can talk about movements and, gestures and images and everything, happening. Whatever stands out to you, I just want to hear what you think, what it means to you as you, think about those things as we watch this video again.
Young rich niggas, so we ain't really never had no old money. We got a whole lot of new money though.
If young Metro don't trust you, I'm gonna shoot you.
Hey! Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking, the hot box. Cooking, fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Cooking up dope in the crock pot. We came from nothing to something, nigga. Hey. I don't trust nobody, grip the trick. Nobody call up the gang and they come and get gang. Cry me a river, give you a tissue. Bad and bullshit, bad. Cooking up dope with a Uzi. My niggas is savage, ruthless. We got 30s and 100 rounds too. My bitch is bad and bullshit, bad. Cooking up dope with a Uzi. My niggas is savage, ruthless. We got 30s and 100 rounds too. All set. Woo, 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 woo. Records on records, got backers on backers. I'm riding around in a cool. I take your bitch right from you. Bitch, I'm a dog. Beat down her walls, loose. Hey. Hop in the fall. Woo. I tell that bitch to come for me. I swear these niggas is under me. Hey. The hate and the devil keep jumping me. Back rows on me, keep me company. Hey, we did the most. Yeah. Pull up and goes. Woo. Yeah, my diamond's a choker. Holding up, I with no holster. Read the ruler, diamond cooler. This a roller, not a mule. Hey. Dabbing on them like the usual. Damn. Magic with the brick do voodoo. Magic. Courtside with a bad bitch. Then I send the bitch through Uber. Go. I'm young and rich and plus I'm bougie. Hey. I'm not stupid, so I keep the Uzi. Records on records, got backers on backers, so my money making my back. You niggas got a low act rate. We from the north, yeah, that way. No. Fat cookie blunt in the ashtray. Two bitches just national smash day. Hop in the limb, have a drag race. I let them birds take a bath, babe. Hey. Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking, the hot box. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Cooking up dope in the crock pot. We came from nothing to something, nigga. Hey. I don't trust nobody, grip the trick. Nobody call up the gang and they come and get gang. Cry me a river, give you a tissue. My bitch is bad and bullshit, bad. Cooking up dope with a Uzi. My niggas is savage, ruthless. We got 30s and 100 rounds too. My bitch is bad and bullshit, bad. Cooking up dope with a Uzi. My niggas is savage, ruthless. We got 30s and 100 rounds too. Pour four, I'm dropping money out of space. Kid.
Okay, I see some of you are, already into it. Does anyone want to share what stood out for you? Like, what is it about this song? And again, please, there's no wrong answer in this class. What is it about this song? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What do you think about the sound, the instruments, what you're seeing, the message that you're hearing? Do you have any opinion? Do you just want to share anything with us? Feel free, unmute yourself and share, please.
I feel like for me, it's like a combination of like the beat plus like the lyrics.
Yes.
Plus the video.
Yeah. What about the lyrics? I totally agree with you about the beat. See, I was already moving. What about the lyrics?
I feel like they're just like very catchy.
Yes. Thank you so much. That's enough. Does anyone else want to share?
I feel like in a lot of rap songs, especially ones like this, like more modern rap songs, have a lot of lyricism that kind of slips your mind. Like you're watching the visuals and you're hearing the catchiness of it. So you're not exactly paying attention to the messages that they're showing. And this one is more of like a, just kind of like a casual, catchy song, but there's still things that you miss because it is so catchy and radio specific.
I absolutely agree with you. And I like that you use the word modern. We're going to get to, subgenres of hip hop in a minute. I like that you use that word. Thank you so much. Anyone else want to share?
The way that they flowed over that beat, like people say they have a very like influential way that they flow over beats, just like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like that.
Yes. Thank you so much for outlining the timeline for us. We're going also to talk about the genius of, trying to fix a lot of words into, a particular timeline in hip hop. I think that's really cool. Any other person want to share? Just unmute yourself and tell us, what is it about this music? If you don't like it, it's still okay. Remember, there's no wrong answer here.
The beat is like really important about the song.
Yeah, the beat is
a really good beat.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it. Any other contributions? Okay, thank you so much. I'm so happy about this class. Oh my God, they're already talking to me. Yes, all of those things are hip hop and more. We always talk about hip hop in a constellation of arts. From the video we listen to now, so many things are going on. First of all, as you all rightly mentioned, the strong rhythmic beat, that pushes you to move, that pushes you to do something. This is about hip hop. It's not, when you're listening to R&B or many kind of genres that are just really are kind of slow, although there are slower hip hops, you might just see it and think about it, but there's something about hip hop that just want to make you stand up. I see people already nodding, sitting down. And again, the rap is all wonderful. Someone just talked about trying to lay out the timeline for us, trying to just fit in so many words within a particular timeline is genius. And, some people will fit this in it, really fix so many words, depending on, how fast you can speak, depending on what language you're using. You can actually fit a lot of words within a small timeline, or just also short words. And again, what about the message? There's always a message in hip hop. Some obvious messages you can just see in the lyrics when you hear it, say, oh, this is what he's talking about. The Migos we're talking about. Sometimes it's also symbolic.
One moment.
Oh, sorry, that's my Siri. It's also
working on that.
Okay, Siri, I didn't even talk to you. Sorry about that. Oh, sometimes it's also, symbolic, things that you don't necessarily hear in the lyrics, but looking at the videos, some of them could be conspiracy theories, I don't know if you've heard about, people have been talking about so many signs like the Illuminati. Oh, I see it here, I see it here, I see it here. You know, people see different things. So some messages are clear, some are really, really symbolic. And then what about the dance? You know, there's also break dancing. You know, hip hop started with break dancing, but today, a lot of dance steps, you know, have emerged from hip hop, and some are choreographed, you know, some are just free dance styles. But around the globe, you can see like so many dance moves have evolved. What about the culture? You know, hip hop also, it's now moved beyond just the musical genre to a culture, because if you take those class when you come to Syracuse, you're going to learn a little bit about, you know, the evolution of hip hop, you know, and you know that each time in history, there's a particular rules. It's not like a rigid rule, but people follow a certain lifestyle. It could be clothing, it could be something they're doing, especially people who do a particular musical genre, like the gangster rap, you know. You see that there's something that usually binds them together. And also, it's also a movement, you know. It is sweeping the globe. And, you know, also, and it's tied to specific movements too. Like today, we've lived through the Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement. And if you check YouTube, you see that a lot of hip hop artists created songs to, you know, respond to those issues happening in society. Okay, what about the poetry, spoken word, you know, rhyming lyrics, you know, trying to make your lyrics, you know, end a certain way just to make it really, you know, cool. And, you know, these are all genius and what they put into the creativity of hip hop. And what about fashion? You can see, even looking at Migos, even today, they're even like more flamboyant. They wear a certain, you know, especially jewelry has been big, but in so many cultures around the world, they have also how they look. But, you know, hip hop started in America, so everybody's just looking up to American artists and emulating them. So then if we think that, from what you said, what you told me, and what I've written here, like hip hop is all of these things, what then is the problem? What then? Why are we fighting over hip hop? You know, there's disagreements over the sound. You know, music not being hip hop not being music enough, and this is because, you know, some of us are culturally conditioned to listen to a certain things. And consider that thing music. Like if you grew up listening to, for instance, classical music or some traditional music around the world, and all of a sudden, just like, you know, our mothers and grandmothers, you just, you know, bring up this music that is like, oh, you make it in the studio. What does this even sound like? I don't know. You know how we feel about new things, right? You know how we feel about new things. And people are like, what is that? You know, that's not even music. People have called it noise. But, you know, the younger generation, you know, you were born and hip hop is already out there. So you grew up with it, you appreciate it more. But that's not the case, even with my dad, you know, in my house. By the way, I'm from Nigeria. So when I go home, I struggle with my dad. Oh, don't play that. Don't play that. What is that? I'm like, Daddy, this is cool. I love it, you know. And then we fight over it. And then at some point, he would just be like, okay, whatever. And also people fight about the themes, you know, so many themes emerging. Hip hop, of course, violence, of course, misogyny, sexism, you know, hip hop demeaning women and all those arguments. But people also argue about it. Oh, I don't want my children to look at that because it's so bad for them, you know. And also the visuals, you know. The visuals in hip hop, some of the videos have like really violent scenes, people smoking, all those, you know, morality issues. Like the older generation were like, oh, we don't want my children to be watching that. Remember, this is like a new music that is addressing, you know, what's going on in society. It's kind of new to them, so they can't wrap their heads around them. And also the messages, right? The messages also, you see Cardi B came up with WAP. And you're like, what is even that? You know, what is even saying? Can you play that in front of your parents? You know, I cannot play it. That my dad is going to slap the hell out of me. Like, what are you playing? You know, some of the messages people, you know, are confused about. And again, you know, there's a great hip hop scholar called Tricia Rose, an African-American woman who wrote a wonderful book called The Hip Hop Wars. And she just outlines In the case, in the context of America, in the US context, she outlines these 5 reasons, why people criticize hip hop in America. And one is that hip hop causes violence, and like I said earlier, it's because there are so many violent videos, so many things going on in, some of these hip hop videos, and people like, oh, I don't want my children to watch that. I don't want anybody to watch that because there's so much violence in it. And then the second one is hip hop reflects, Black dysfunctional ghetto culture. But where did hip hop start? That's a question we should think about. Who started hip hop? It started from this culture, and then they're criticizing, even some Black people will say, that's not, all Black war. There are also Black people doing great things, which is good. Why does it have to reflect this particular culture, and reinforcing stereotypes about Black people? And again, it goes on to say it hurts, Black people. Of course, we have an example at hand now. Takeoff just died due to gun violence, and people are tying it to hip hop. And again, is it because he's a hip hop artist, or is it because so many things? People have said so many things online. I'm sure you're reading, right? And again, the next one is hip hop is destroying America's value. Of course, I've mentioned this. This is something new. And people are like, how do we take it? Especially because it's sweeping the whole nation and singing about all these themes that people have never heard before in music. And again, hip hop demeans women. There are so many hip hop music with misogynistic lyrics. You cannot even talk about it. And then a lot of them is like, men being the king and women, flocking around them, following them. So these things are all in hip hop, and then Tricia Rose talks about defense. She's like, what do you mean? Another set of people, scholars, were like, what do you mean? They're just keeping it real. And the question, if you read the book, one of the questions you ask yourself is like, is there violence in society? When we say hip hop acts like a social commentary, that just means, it reflects what is going on in society. And we begin to ask the question, is there violence in society? Was hip hop before violence, or was there violence before hip hop? So if there's violence in society, so why wouldn't people, sing about it? Are there dysfunctional Black ghetto culture in America? The answer is yes. Does it hurt people? Like now that we lost, Takeoff, is it because did they just shoot him in a hip hop scene or what? There's also gun violence, which is not like a hip hop culture. And then this other, what is America's value? Are these things not also happening in America? Hip hop demeans women. And another question is like, women couldn't even vote till the 1950s, right? It was there before the hip hop, women. There are issues about, sexism and patriarchy before hip hop started. And they're saying that hip hop is just, reflecting what is going on in society, so hip hop is not responsible for sexism that is been there before hip hop. And then there are also, all the bitches and hoes that you hear in hip hop. There are actually people who just say, oh, this is what I want to be, to get attention, to be desired, and to be considered sexy. So this is what is actually going on in society, right? And again, they were like, nobody talks about the positive things in hip hop, right? There are so many hip hop also talks about good things. That means there are also good aspects of things happening in society, right? There is also Christian hip hop right now. Muslims are also doing their own hip hop. There are also hip hop addressing social moral issues. Why is it that nobody's talking about it? Why is it that when we talk about hip hop, we're talking about all these bad things? So these are like, I agree with these hip hop defenders, if you're going to say a music is addressing what is going on in society. So these are all the things. It will reflect everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, okay? So having talked about that, I know Kendrick Lamar is one of my best, okay? We're going to listen to this for a little bit and then look at the lyrics. And then just, think about it. Just, having had, the critics and the defense, let me know if this is just, making America bad in any way, or this is reflecting Kendrick Lamar's experience, or is it just in between? So we're going to listen to this a little bit, and then the next slide will be the lyrics, so we can talk about it a little bit.
I remember you was conflicted, misusing your influence. Sometimes I did the same. Abusing my power full of resentment. Resentment that turned into a deep depression. Found myself screaming in the hotel room. Lucifer was all around me. So I kept running until I found my safe haven. I was trying to convince myself the stripes I got, making myself realize what my foundation was.
In the room, and I run
But while my loved ones was fighting a continuous war back in the city, I was entering a new one. A war that was based on apartheid and discrimination. Hey, on my mama, nigga. R.I.P. Pat Dog. I'ma be the greatest to ever do this shit. On my mama, though, like, on the dead homies. Hey, Soundwave, turn this shit up, nigga. Turn this shit up. Soundwave, turn this shit up, nigga.
Tell me who the bitch nigga hating on me. Jumping on my dick, but this dick ain't free. To Pimp a Butterfly, another classic CD. Ghetto lullaby for everyone they MC. Blow, 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 blow. Nigga, not R.I.P. My diligence is only meant to write your eulogy.
All's my life I has to fight, nigga. All's my life hard times like, yeah. Bad trips like, yeah. Nazareth, I'm fucked up, homie, you fucked up. But if God got us, then we gon' be alright.
Nigga, we gon' be alright. Nigga, we gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be alright. Nigga, we gon' be alright. Huh? We gon' be alright. Nigga, we gon' be alright. Do you hear me? Do you feel me? We gon' be alright.
And when I wake up, I recognize you looking at me for the pay cut. Bahamas, I be looking at you from the face down. One Mac 11, even boom with the bass down. Skimming, and let me tell you about my life. Painkillers only put me in the twilight. But pretty pussy and Benjamin is the highlight. I tell my mama I love her, but this what I like, Lord knows. 20 of them in my Chevy, tell them all to come and get me. Reaping everything I sow, so my karma come in heaven. No preliminary hearings on my record. I'm a motherfucking gangster in silence for the record. Tell the world I know it's too late. Boys and girls, I think I've gone great. Trying to decide my face this all day. Won't you please believe?
We're going to stop there so we can have a little conversation. So if you look at my screen, you can see, what he's singing about, some of the lyrics, Of course, you saw a gun, right? Violence, you saw someone shoot someone, you had the B word, you had some misogynistic word. Also, there's also a narrative. So where would you place this hip hop, having had all those things, there are also good lyrics. I mean, there was also some of the things he said reflecting historical narratives and what is going on in the society. So this song has like both, the good, the bad, quote unquote, the good, the bad. So where would you place this song? Would you agree with the critics to say this is not, this is like not good for America, or would you say this is reflecting the society, and why? Would anyone help us?
Well, I think for, this particular song, like I'm a fan of Kendrick Lamar's, I think that people associate hip hop with violence, but I'm a film major. And so my art reflects, a lot of it is personal, and it's the same thing with hip hop. And so this is just another part of a legacy of artists, hip hop artists that use music for them to, kind of like shine a light of what's happening in their lives and in their culture. So it's the same thing. Like I hold this, like I'm a old school hip hop head. So like when I think about Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, The Message, or Public Enemy, Fight the Power, this song fits along those lines. And if you kind of like break down the lyrics, you'll understand that this is just another song added onto the legacy of that movement.
Absolutely, I agree. Does anyone? Yes, please, Ava.
Yeah, so I totally agree. Yeah, somebody just said in the chat, that's what I was gonna say. So people tend to associate hip hop with violence or anger or stereotypes like that because a lot of them did have an experience in their childhood or in their everyday lives with mistreatment or discrimination or violence or addiction, and they rap about it. And like you said, like you think about I think 1993 F the Police, and then 2020 The Bigger Picture. It's kind of the same thing, and it's really interesting because even in the roots of hip hop, when they were just making beats and stuff, it was things that nobody had ever said. Like nobody had ever come out and said something like so bold as F the Police. And it seemed controversial, and people put that band on like, the parental advisory warning. Like,
yeah,
it's so interesting to hear how people speaking their experiences and their truth. And even though there is the era of that you were saying earlier, the misogyny and the things about drugs and violence and stuff like that, I mean, every genre has that. They just say it in different ways. You think about classic rock, those guys were all absolutely out of their minds for all of those songs. Beatles, most famous band in the world. Half of their albums are about drugs, and people don't take it because it's more of a violent approach. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Eva she just touched on all those points. And the other thing that, because I was looking for my phone and I was trying to say earlier, just the fact that how like Ava was able to interpret that and understand that is having the open mind first, right? But the other thing that I think that is really great about hip hop is that it transcends boundaries, and it transcends like racial lines. And so, and I think it's a great starting point to have conversations like this, like how Ava was just saying, because when you think about things that you're not seeing every single day in your life and somebody else is singing or rapping about it, then you're like, wow. Like I'm from New York. I had no idea how bad South Central LA was until I would watch movies or I would hear NWA talk about South Central Los Angeles. And I'm a woman of color. So I think that is really important. And it's like everything she said just hit nail on the head.
Absolutely, absolutely. I see a hands up. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so about the parental advisory thing, I actually read that that materialized because there was like a lawsuit, and it was involving Ray Forth, the 2 Live Crew. And when they were making music, they were definitely a boundary pusher, and they were the reason mostly why parents thought twice about getting the next hip hop record, because they were kind of like the leaders of those sex crazed hip hop rappers. And then when that lawsuit happened, then they decided, all right, we have to put a parental advisory sticker on you.
Yeah,
that's so interesting. I didn't know that. I love that.
yeah.
And I think that era, it's so interesting to me that there's things like that, because even in hip hop, I think that we were saying earlier, about how, okay, so there's the whole, you know, I think Lorda said earlier that she's an old head, and me too. It's so bad. Like my friends love rap and they make fun of me for not liking rap, and I'm like, I do, but like 30 years ago. But you know, okay, you think about early 90s, Tupac versus Biggie, easily the biggest feud, right? But you know, it's the whole East Coast, West Coast thing. Like that territory that even though they're both similar areas, both not very nice areas, both similar experiences, there's that sense of like community pride that they take into it, which is why even though Tupac and Biggie were originally friends, all of that stuff, you know, like I think they had the idea in their head too that because there was such an air of violence surrounding it, like the whole culture at the time, that they needed to be involved when they didn't.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
it does. Absolutely. This is so wonderful. So we agree that, you know, this is actually reflecting his lived experiences, right? Whether it's good or bad is secondary, right? Hip hop, you know, functions as social commentary and follows, you know, the creators from cradle to grave. So at any point in their life, they sing about what is going on. You know, it doesn't matter if it's good, it doesn't matter if it's bad, it doesn't matter who it's hurt. This is how, you know, hip hop gives the voice to the voiceless, right? People who necessarily wouldn't have anything, you know, nobody would hear if not that they're creating music. Hip hop gives them a platform and gives them, you know, voice. Talking about pushing boundary, let's listen to Nicki Minaj Anaconda. You know, before this, you know, this music did something. Of course, today, the Megan Thee Stallion is, you know, doing great things. Cardi B is out there and so many other women. But this video is, you know, one of those first one that pushed, you know, further boundaries, you know. And then looking at this video now, like, think about how did this push boundary? And of course, when this video came out, it was controversial. It is more accepted today. And of course, we're going to watch, you know, some reactionary videos after we watch a little bit of it. And then we can also talk about it then. Let me know where you're going to place this one. Do you think Nicki Minaj is kind of, you know, I mean, there are two debates about this music, there's complexity, but two broad debates is that, oh, she's also further sexualizing women's bodies. And people are like, oh, no, it's kind of powerful that she's doing it. She's owning her body. So I just want to hear what you think as we watch this video.
You got buns, hun.
Boy, toy named Troy used to live in Detroit. Big dope, selling money, he was getting some coins. Was the shootouts with the law, but he lived in a palace. Bought me Alexander McQueen, he was keeping me stylish. Now that's real. Gun in my purse, bitch, I came just to kill. Who wanna go first? I had him pushing daffodils. I'm high as hell, I only took a half a pill.
Do you want to mute yourself?
Dry.
Okay, so well, we're gonna watch reactionary videos. But before that, does anyone want to talk a little bit about what Nicki Minaj did? If not, maybe we should watch the reactionary video before we actually talk about it. Naito, do you want to say something?
This video, yes, he said it was very controversial, but like I think this started like a new era for like music videos kind of like going forward, because like it showed like music before it just showed like body, but it did not show body as Anaconda. and like Anaconda and like Kim Kardashian, people like showing off their body more became more normalized in society after Anaconda came out.
Absolutely, I agree. Any other thoughts?
So I just want to say something
Sure.
that while this video, and we know what Anaconda is kind of like has that shock value, this has been done before. Little Kim, Foxy Brown talked about, you know, their whole entrance into hip hop was about taking back the control of misogyny. That was because this is a male dominated field. And while this is shocking, and we know, ladies, what, you know, she's rapping about, this was kind of like a response to Sir Mix-a-Lot, Baby Got Back, which he's talking about a woman's butt. And so this was her, you know, saying, listen, men could do this, women could do this too.
Absolutely, I agree. She didn't start it. Men were doing it, but then, you know, she did it. But yeah, Ava, do you want to go?
Yes, I love this. This is like one of my favorite arguments because it's so cool that like, okay, so when WAP came out, we were talking about that earlier, everybody was like, oh my gosh, this is the worst. This is so gross. How are they doing it? But rappers say things like that in every single one of their songs. And the reason that, okay, so Eminem, we were talking about Eminem earlier. His first band, if you didn't know, he was in a band called D12, and he called it essentially shock rap because the things that they would rap about, sometimes I'm listening to it and I'm literally like, what did he just say? Like, that was awful. But it's to make you think, because you actually think about it and you're like, wow, he really just went out of his way to say that. And people like to diminish WAP because things like that, you know, Anaconda and things before that, you know, there's a million examples. People get more upset about that because, I mean, it's misogyny. Like it's fine when they talk about it, but when women talk about it, it's suddenly gross, like WAP and this song.
Absolutely. Let's watch a little reactionary video from Elders. Yeah.
Ooh, isn't that pretty?
Oh, no, you're not making me watch this, are you? Oh, shoot.
My anaconda don't.
That's nice.
My kind of rainforest.
Want none unless you got buns.
I must say they know how to move it.
I don't understand how people get derrieres like this. I really don't.
Now that's real. Gun in my purse, bitch, I came just to kill. I'm on some dumb shit. By the way, what he say?
Oh, the men will really enjoy this.
I'm in my automobile like dun 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 dun.
My anaconda? What?
Well, we know we're not referring to a snake.
I definitely would.
So you can see this, you know, people talk about Shrek. You can see, you know, these elders, this was like how a lot of people reacted to this video, even younger people. But today, just like Naito said, you know, it is like more acceptable. But the thing is that, did hip hop start this culture? You know, was it there before hip hop? You know, again, it's something to think about. I just want to move ahead and just let us think about some things to think about. You know, the long association of Black people with violence, is it the reason why, you know, there's hip hop war, or are we scared of change? You know, also, you know, music has had a history of impacting social movements in special ways. Could this be why we are scared? You know, these are like rhetorical questions. We don't have to answer them, but they are good things to, you know, think about. Would hip hop significantly contribute to the decline of Western civilization? is society sexist? Violence? Did hip hop cause this? And is freedom of speech expression limited when it comes to hip hop, right? We've been talking about freedom of expression. Are rappers unfairly singled out? Are we scared of listening to harsh realities? We don't, these are things we can, think about, and then you make judgment for yourself. I'm not trying to convince anybody, but one thing is for sure, hip hop is the music that is the sound of global youth, and it's so many across the world. Christians are doing it, Muslims are doing it, all religions are now rapping. There are so many, even in the US, there are regional subgenres. Also, people who do similar things have their own hip hop. So it's all over the place, and it's so hard. It's not even blood. What is pop and hip hop is blood. Remember, if you follow Nicki Minaj, he called the Grammy Awards out for putting his song in a wrong category, right? She was like, "Oh, my song was hip hop and it wasn't rap." So and the most important thing is providing a platform for expression, including religious views. And it is up to us to make our own judgment. I'm not here to tell you that hip hop is good or bad. I'm just here to help you think critically about how, hip hop functions and what it means to the culture. And it is actually unstoppable. I think it's too far, and we can stop this, culture sweeping the global youth right now. So I'm going to stop sharing for you to ask me questions about anything. I'm so happy to see all of you, although I'm not seeing your face. Do you have any questions?
What do you do at Syracuse exactly?
Oh, I teach. So I am Nigerian. I studied ethnomusicology, so I teach music. Of course, I know you're Nigerian too from your name. So I study ethnomusicology. That means I study music and culture. So I teach courses in music and global women. I teach courses in hip hop. I teach courses in African music, Black music, African American music, and Black Atlantic music. So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I am Nigerian.
Any questions, please? Any final thoughts? Yes, Charlotte, please.
Hi, so I applied to Syracuse for the fall of 2023. If I theoretically get in, of course, would I be able to take your classes as a freshman, or do you only teach upperclassmen?
I teach both. Like this semester, I'm teaching a freshman class and then an upper level class. I teach 2 classes a semester. It's usually mixed, okay? So even if you come and my classes are full, just email me, "Professor, I was in your class online. Can you let me in?" I'll let you in, okay? Thank you, Charlotte. Any other questions, thoughts, final thoughts, question about? I'm looking forward to, seeing all of you. If you ever come to Syracuse, say hi when you see me, okay? Any questions, final thoughts? You all have been so gracious and very engaging. Yes, please.
Who is your favorite rapper, ma'am? Do you have one?
Oh my God, that is so tough. But I like Kendrick Lamar. I'm not allowed to say one because I teach it, so I like all of them. But I really like to listen to Kendrick Lamar. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other question, final thoughts? Yes, please, Jack.
For a hip hop wars class like this at Syracuse, what's the kind of average class size?
Oh, 30.
30?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. Any other questions?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for this, and this was really informative. And I'm a little older, so I'm just kind of happy to see the younger generation having these kind of conversations. Ava is just like a rock star, so that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yes, but also thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, I love this.
Yeah, it's been great.
I've never had a class anything like it.
Oh,
Yeah, especially
It was
about
very unique.
I mean, I'm probably the youngest one here, but I've got more opportunities for sure.
Thank you. I'm glad to
See you in the fall of 23.
Yeah, see you
Yeah,
soon.
hopefully me too.
Hopefully the fall of 24, man.
Yeah, 24 is coming.
I'll be looking for all of you.
All 23, hopefully.
Good luck.
you
and
so much.
I hope you get everything you're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you.